Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Anything Goes with Anna Rose. And today is I am flying solo. It is a solo episode. I am flying solo. I cannot wait. It's rare these days. If you go back on the podcast, you will see that I predominantly did solo. And then it really changed around like late last year when I wanted to do the asset class series, which absolutely blew up. And I've just adored inviting people that I know, love, and trust into the studio ever since to have those conversations. But I'll be honest, I will say the community that I have built and why and how I have built it is you guys still love the solo episodes. They still rank as some as the highest listened to. So I am sitting down today on the mic. I am doing a very broad Q&A, which I love. It's interesting as well, when I was going through the questions, there was just so many amazing questions from my incredible Instagram community, and I want to answer them all. I would honestly love to Joe Rogan podcast style, like just sit for 3 hours and talk shit with the guest and or self. But I'm like hesitant to do that because I feel like I've got to get a bit bigger first. I feel like Joe can do it because it's Joe Rogan, but not yet. But basically what I wanted to say is I'm going to try to cover as broad a spectrum of questions as I can today so that I trust everyone will get something. I have also picked questions that I believe will serve everyone on some capacity. There was honestly probably like 70 questions. I think I've got about 10 written down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Literally 10. I'm going to try and get to them all. If I don't, I'm going to try and keep it under an hour. But I love this style of podcasting because I always say give the people what they want. And I am in such a blessed, privileged position in having built the community that I have built that you will turn up all day, every day in my DMs and just in my life, which is really beautiful. And I really mean it when I say it is a very privileged position. I'm very humbled by it. And I always carry a level of, it's not bad, like don't feel sorry for me. It's not a bad guilt, but I do carry a level of guilt around how even as my life right now is getting busier and bigger, which is incredible, I am not in DMs as much anymore. And I feel like that's really how I have built the unicorn community that I have built. It's like I am there on the other end of a DM. And so I do hear your stories and I do connect with you and I do reply in my personal inbox. So this is my way of giving back, essentially, is where I'm getting with this. My sit-down Q&A is when I know that I have not been able to answer as many DMs as I would like. I try to do a broad QA to hit those responses, essentially, which I love. So we're going to begin. I am actually going to start. Let's go, team. I've waffled for 5 minutes, so we've got 55 minutes left max. But where I actually really want to start, and Lord knows where this will go, and Lord knows how long I will talk to it, but I really actually wanted to have a quick conversation with you at the start if you were listening to this. And honestly, if you're listening back in months or years, it is still going to be relative to you, even though I will be speaking about specifics of global politics in this moment. But I do want to check in. I just want you to check in with yourself. Now, I'll be honest, this is probably going to be a little bit of an ass kicking. It absolutely might trigger you. Great. I always say our triggers are our pathways to healing. If we feel, I don't even like that word. I feel like it's so overused. I love to say the word activated because I think a trigger is quite a serious thing. I think when someone is triggered sincerely, it's serious. It's not you're taking fucking offense because you're a boy that wants to wear lipstick and call yourself a girl, and so you're triggered because someone accidentally mispronounced your pronouns. That's not the conversation I'm having, right? I believe a true trigger is if you have tragically and traumatically gone through something in your life and you haven't had the chance for whatever reason to completely heal that yet. Hearing, a sexual abuse story or a physical abuse story or a kidnap story or something serious can trigger your nervous system, and you can have an event, essentially, a panic attack or something. So that's why I don't actually like to use that word a lot. That's just to explain, because people do ask me all the time, because I'm anti-trigger warning, because I'm like, honestly, you're just fucking offended by everything. That's your problem. You're just actually offended. You're not triggered, you're offended, and you don't like that someone has a difference of opinion to you. I'm already going on a rant. Anyway, what I want to say is, if you are activated in this next little chat, good. Let it activate you, because our activations are what set us free. So let's begin. I did get a lot of questions around, Anna, what's happening with the fuel crisis? Where is the fuel crisis at? Like, we want your political commentary. And honestly, I did riff on this with love in stories the other day, but I said how nothing has changed. So just so we all know, what's the date today? It is the 30th of May, 2026. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. I was talking in my grid months ago about this. Strait of Hormuz is still closed. The oil production and supply globally is still at a critical level, which triggers the events of high inflation, high oil prices actually is the number one, which triggers high inflation, which then triggers higher interest rates, which then is like a vicious cycle of aforementioned events. So where are you at in your life? So what I want to talk about is that is still absolutely going on. I always say I won't ever talk about the noise. I will talk about signals. So if I speak up, it's because something bigger is happening, or I see a shift in dynamics, or there's a play at hand that the government's, releasing new legislation, which makes me feel unsafe. That's when I speak up. When there is signal, the rest is noise. So that's why I have been more quote unquote quiet on my socials and on my platform, essentially. But just so you know, nothing has changed. We are still globally at the precipice of some call it a crash, some call it a correction. Insert what makes your nervous system feel safest here. But it's here and it's coming, and it's going to be hard, and we're all in this together, 100%. But actually what I wanted to talk about, which is where the activation could possibly come from, is I want you to take a look at your own life in the last, it can be a decade, it can be a couple of decades, it could be a couple of years, and actually take stock of, and absolutely no judgment. Let me preface it with that. No judgment and no shame and no shade, but just a bit of a mirror for you to understand that you get to be in complete sovereign control of your life, and that could activate you. But hear me out, because you are. And if you're not right now and you feel like you're not, because my ex is this and the government that, they are all fucking external situations and circumstances. And at the end of the day, because other people have gone before you and have proven that it can be done, aka sovereignty, aka wealth, aka building themselves out of a hole, it can be done. So the biggest thing that I wanted to get across today is that nothing has changed globally. It is all still an absolute political and global and economic shit show. 30th of June, did I say? 30th of May, beg your pardon. We haven't even seen the beginning of what is, I believe, to come. I think that's going to hit around June, July. And I think that you have had a continual opportunity and chance to dig yourself out of the hole. But instead of sitting and listening to free podcasts or listening to YouTube, people that are talking on macro or economics or politics or investing or whatever the thread you want to pull at that might better your life, could be health, it could be business. You're coming home and pouring a bottle of wine or complaining and putting on Netflix. And this is what I mean when I say I could activate you, and that's okay, lean in. Because if that is you, then I can guarantee you show me your life, I'll show you your results. And so I just wanted to check in before we began that whatever is about to happen, it's going to happen. We can't change it, right? We cannot change the event, but we can absolutely change the response. So if you have done nothing in your life, if you are still highly leveraged in debt, if you have been putting things on the credit card, and I hear you, but Anna, you don't understand. No, I absolutely do. Whatever you have been through, whatever you have gone through, whatever is happening, I've probably been there and done that. But if there are situations and circumstances that you are not actively trying to get yourself out of, then this next period is going to be very hard. And people and markets always recover. So please know that. But I just want you to check in that what are you doing as a sovereign individual in your own life to ensure that you will be somewhat protected in this next period? Are you looking at your expenses and making sure that the money coming into your household or the money going out of your household essentially does not exceed the money coming into your household? Now, if it is, for example, I can guarantee you've probably put too much things on the credit card, which you probably didn't need, or you drive a car that has a loan that you probably don't also need that you've got because it's like basically trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? I have always said I would rather live so wildly within my means, aka if I can't pay cash for it, I'm not fucking getting it. That goes for every single one of my businesses. That will go for my house in time to come. Property is not how I will build wealth, but let me tell you, when I buy my fucking house, it will be cash. So if I cannot buy it cash, and this is how I live, and this leads me to live a very free, very happy, very calm life, then I can't afford it, right? So that's what I want you to check in with yourself, because it's about to get very tough. Interest rates are about to go up. Inflation is about to hit record highs. Oil, groceries, etc. are going to raise. If you are in a position where you are scrimping and saving and you are not trying to better yourself in the valuable hours of your day that you have to listen to podcasts, to watch YouTube, to read books, to invest in yourself, to sell your car that's on a loan and buy a $5,000 bomb, but then you might be saving yourself $200 a week, fuck yeah, right? That's what I want you to focus on. So I'm going to park it there. So it just came up, so many people were like, what's going on? What's going on? And I'm like, it's all the same. Nothing's changed. But have you changed? Are you making decisive decisions? Like, are you making sure that you are like sovereignly in control of at least an element of bringing down your expenses and growing your income in some capacity? So I just want, that's like the pulse of the world. And like I said, it might activate you, but it will set you free. Because once you understand that you are responsible and no government, institution, person, or ex-husband is coming to save you, then, and stop being bitter about it, then your life will be set free. So let's dive in. Triggered, but we love it. Okay. So question number 1, there are 10 questions. I've like written them in somewhat of an answer in a row or in the order that I wish to answer them, hoping that they will serve you in some capacity. But Anna, how do you draw in energy when you're exhausted? Which was such a good question, because I know like 90% of my following and listeners are women. I rest, right? So when I'm exhausted, like right now, right? I'm exhausted. I'm in IVF. I have some major amazing personal stuff going on behind the scenes that no one knows about. I have 4 businesses, or 3 very active, demanding businesses. One that I'm sitting in right now, TDH, the Dream Haus. I get exhausted. I absolutely can get tired and I get exhausted. And what I do is I prioritize myself like my life depends on it. So that's a big thing that I know women can't do. And I get it. I just want to say I get it, especially mothers. I understand if you have put yourself in a position, or it's still us, right? If you have put yourself in a position where you're like, yeah, but Anna, you don't understand. I can't rest because I have 3 kids and no help. Okay, but why are you there? At what point did you cut off all your sisterhood? Did they cut you off maybe, perhaps? Or did you move away from your family and friends, right? Because that was me. For example, I actively know that I didn't actively, but I know that when I have a baby in time to come, I don't have family support around me because they live on the other side of the country. Now, not fucking once will you hear the words of a complaint come out of my mouth that I don't have my family and I don't have my family around me. No shit, because I chose as a sovereign woman to move me. I chose that, to move on the other side of the country from them. Now, for no other reason than I just love the Gold Coast and I wanted to do that. But if I have chosen that, then you better believe I have to work a bit harder or a little bit smarter to ensure, which is exactly what I've done, that I'm set up so when I have children, I have the capabilities or the financial resources to hire help. For example, like many women do with calling their mum and going, I'm about to fucking explode. Can you come over? I don't get that option. So what I want to say, again, it's a savage episode and I like that, is I rest, right? Because I deserve it and I'm worthy of it. So people, I just feel like the epidemic amongst society, but especially women, is we're martyrs. It's like, but you don't understand. No, but you don't understand. And it's just like martyrdom off of, but I don't have family, but my ex-husband, but I don't get support. Cool. I get it. And what are you doing about it? So if I am feeling fucking exhausted, how do I deal with it? I rest. I take some time. I prioritize myself. I literally said to Ryan, and I don't date a fuckhead, right? I chose to divorce, and he was definitely not a fuckhead, but I chose a divorce where I just didn't think that they were the one. And there's a question that I'll get to on that. I have dated many fuckheads and got out of those relationships. I've had to heal domestic violence. And so now, for example, when I'm about to share this, people go, yeah, easy for you. No, not easy for me, because I had to go through a divorce and fuckheads to get here. But I literally am in that situation right now. I'm exhausted. I am exhausted. And I literally said to Ryan, like 2 weeks ago, I'm fucking exhausted. Like I'm exhausted and I'm done. And I am going to have a massage and get a facial, and I don't care what you do, but I'm putting it in the diary and this is what I'm doing. So just to let you know, and I went and did all that guilt-free. Then I was like, it would be really nice if you did something for help me, right? Next week, we're going away for 3 days to switch off and just be in each other's company before a transfer. So I love that question. I'm just going to read it verbatim again. How do I draw in energy when I'm exhausted? I fucking rest. And I prioritize myself because I know a burnt out me serves absolutely nobody. Doesn't serve the podcast, doesn't serve the studio, doesn't serve my king, doesn't serve my businesses, it doesn't serve anybody. So when I'm exhausted, I know it's shocking, I rest. And I'm being spicy today because I'm like, I think you need it. I think the world needs it right now. That wake up, that slap, that snap out of it. If you're exhausted, fucking rest. The next question, if you don't know your center, find it, right? I'm going to get into it. But it's that slap in the face to be like, hey, guess what? We are a magical being of light and sound that has chosen this time in history to be here. We are on this spinning ball of rock, suspended in infinite space, suspended just enough from the sun with the just right atmosphere to not burn or freeze to death. And then we're being martyrs when we're fucking exhausted. I don't get to rest. Well, rest. And then it's that, yeah, but you don't understand. I got kids, We'll figure it out, right? Because we put ourselves in these situations. So you better believe that you can get out of them, right? Call in more help. Find a sisterhood. The amount of times that my best friends have had a situation of any capacity with a partner or kids, and I'm there. I'm like, you know what? You were booking a date night or you need to go out and I'm going to come over and look after kids. And that might activate you. Well, I don't have that. Well, go and find that person. And you know what? Are you being that woman first? And if you are, well, then you're keeping loser friends in your life if they're not reciprocating back. Okay? Savage, spicy. All right, next question. When you don't know which way is up, how do you find your center? Because I was talking about this in stories this week. So when you don't know which way is up, how do you find your center? I loved this question, right? Because again, this is the woman that is stressed, is over leveraged, is over exhausted, overstimulated, all the things. The first idea that came to mind when I heard that was you don't find your center, you become centered. So I find that trying to find a center is all about the doing, right? Writing a list, ticking things off, etc., versus the being, because to be centered, right, it's a state of being. There's nothing that you can do to become centered. However, to be centered, right? So I said we don't find our center, we become centered. And how you become centered, in my experience, is to think like you love yourself, eat like you love yourself, move like you love yourself, speak like you love yourself, fuck like you love yourself, heal like you love yourself, earn like you love yourself, and self-care like you love yourself. So I cannot get knocked off center. And I have proven, it's not even about proving. I always say I live with nothing to prove and nothing to defend, right? So it's not like I have to prove that I don't get knocked off center, but I really don't get knocked off center. And why that is the case is because I am centered. And I do that through everything I just said: eating, moving, thinking, speaking, earning, healing, fucking like I love myself. So whenever I feel off balance, whenever I feel that something is, knocked me and I can't get back up, or I'm spinning or I'm spiraling, which I don't really spin or spiral, but if I can feel myself in some capacity becoming too overstimulated, too overwhelmed, too overstressed, then I come back to my center. And how I come back to my center is I look at everything that I'm doing. Okay, am I eating like I love myself? No, I never skip meals, but it's like I haven't been prepping as well, and so I haven't been eating for my highest good. Am I thinking like I love myself? Well, no, I haven't really read my life vision statement, and I haven't journaled before bed. Am I healing like I love myself? Am I really centering into my somatic practices? Am I moving like I love myself in ways that actually are nourishing, right? So I will come back to everything and look at my life in that capacity to re-become centered. So I'm not out there trying to find it. Like, where is my center? That's external. Centering is all internal. Nothing external to you will affect you when your internal is centered, and you don't find it, you become it. So hopefully that has served you. All right, next question. It's all in my notes. Oh, I love this. Hang on, I'm going to do little ticks so I can see that I've said it. All right, communication. I loved this question. Actually, and it feeds into, because I'll probably answer them as I go. So there's 2 back-to-back questions. It's different people and different sort of over the 24 hours. But one person said communication, when you have outgrown aspects. So I would imagine it's like, how can I communicate when I have outgrown aspects of my long-term relationship? And then another question that I'm probably going to answer as I go through answering that one is, how do I know my marriage is over? And they asked me, how did you know when you knew your marriage was over? So number one, what I want to say around communication when you've outgrown aspects of your long-term relationship, and it's such an oxymoron, but you fucking communicate more than ever, harder than ever, more vulnerably than ever. It's so funny because I love it. I'm in this group called Tea Time on Facebook, right? I don't even know how I ended up in there, but I love it. And it's like, I don't watch reality shows because I hate the grind, I just don't like reality TV shows. But I always laugh to Ryan. I'm like, that's my Super Bowl. Like, Tea Time is my Super Bowl. But I'm actually a bit off it at the moment because I read everyone's posts and I'm like, it's like, they need advice, right? So everyone posts in there and it's like this, that, and the other. The first thought that comes in my head every single time someone is posting in that group, because it's always about a best friend or a cheater or a relationship or a boss or whatever, a friend, whatever else. My first question, I think, is, have you had this conversation with them? Like, have you exactly what you said, because it's so vulnerable or it's so raw or it's so true or it's so potent because of all those reasons? Have you sat and had that conversation with that person, right? So communication, I just don't want to misquote it. Communication when you've outgrown aspects of your long-term relationship. You sit down and you have a very vulnerable, very hard, very fucking honest conversation with that person that you are outgrowing. And that beautifully leads into, and I've talked about it often, I've talked about it like across many different podcasts over the last 5 years. I've been divorced now. But that's how I knew the marriage was over, because I had sat with my ex and had incredible adult, honest, vulnerable, hard, man, fucking hard conversations over about 6 months, where I call it the come to Jesus talk. So we would sit down and have a come to Jesus talk, and we would radically communicate how we were feeling, where we were at, why we were feeling that way, what we needed to see change. And it was predominantly me, which is unfair, right, in essence. And I would acknowledge that. There was no blaming, no yelling, no toxicity. But I would sit and just say, I'm feeling really frustrated, which it doesn't make it right or wrong because of these reasons. Or I've really noticed that you have, our values have, which is an enormous thing for my ex and I, the ex that I was married to for, and together with for 16 years, I would say, our values are just night and day now. Like, our values have changed a lot, which again, it's not bad. It's not wrong. It just is. But we would sit and we would radically communicate that and have, like I said, really hard conversations and say, and it got to a point. So the person that I outgrew was absolutely my ex, and not as in I was better than in any way, shape or form. We just outgrew each other because we became different people, and that's beautiful. And I remember saying to him when we'd officially divorced, we made the call, and I remember saying to him, there's gonna come a day and a time where you're going to thank me for doing this, because you get to go be big and great and yourself in the capacity that you want to become him. But that him wasn't for me anymore. Like, I didn't relate or vibe or want to grow in that way with you. And so you don't understand it yet. And maybe you won't ever, but I trust, because he was such a good guy. I was like, I think you will. And he was like, oh, fuck off, Anna, shut up, whatever. I'm just going to be heartbroken and fucking sad the rest of my life. Anyway, it probably took about 18 months. And I got the text of like, you were right. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Like, I've arrived. And I was like, amazing. I told you so. So how to communicate when you are out. This is the thing. I think one of my greatest strengths is my communication, right? And I'm sitting on a podcast saying that. So I think that that's enough proof in the pudding. But no matter how I'm feeling, no matter where I am at in any level in business or relationships or friendships, I will sit and have the hard conversations. And I know that it's not easy for me. It was impossible for me when I was younger. That's an enormous life lesson for myself, but it's a life lesson for everyone. I lost my voice for 22 years in my life. So when I found it, you can't shut me the fuck up now, right? But communication is it. It is the be all, it is the end all, it is the beginning, the middle, and the end. So how to communicate when you are outgrowing someone is you sit and it doesn't need to be perfect and it doesn't need to be right. You just cannot blame, you cannot criticize, and you cannot you. It's just like, this is the situation, doesn't make it right, it doesn't make it wrong, but this is how I am feeling. And it's hard, and it's honestly sitting in the suck and the hard conversation. But I will always say, having the hard conversations before it gets too late is what stops the cheating or the resentment or waking up in 20 years sitting next to the person that actually you stopped loving really 20 years ago, that you've kind of just put up with, and here you are in this life that you don't even recognize. And actually you had the chance, so many chances along the way, to pursue your most aligned life. But because you didn't communicate and speak up, here you are stuck in this life now. So radical communication. How did I know my marriage was over? Because we were beautifully and savagely and very uncomfortably having really hard conversations for several months. And I was expressing needs and wants and saying, this is kind of where I'm going and what I need. And you don't have to be the one to deliver that. It's not fair to ask that of you. But if you kind of want to come along, then this is what I need. And, he'd be like, give me time and give me 3 months. I go, amazing, of course. And then I'd do that and then it would get worse. And I was like, beautiful. So then we'd sit back down and I was like, here has been the last 3 months and this is what has occurred. And, I was constantly having the hard conversation in that marriage until I was able to absolutely look him in the eye, both of us, and say, it's done. It's done. And it was the most heartbreaking thing in the world. And we both fucking held each other through that heartbreak for the first couple of weeks until we were like, this is really toxic. We can't do that for each other. And then it was even more heartbreaking, but it was the right thing to do. So that then answers the other question of communication when you've outgrown aspects of your long-term relationship. You 10x down on communicating and on having the hard conversations and on being so radically honest. It's offensive, not to the person, but you finally say the things that are hottest on your heart and you do it in a non-malicious way before resentment kicks in, is what I would say. Okay, next one. Oh, I love this question and I'm getting it a lot, so I really wanted to put it on the mic. How to support friends in IVF who don't want to talk about it and keep it private. Honestly, I do have the answer to that, obviously, but I don't also. It's something that you get to ask your friend. So that's the first thing that I want to say. How to support friends in IVF. Obviously I'm different because I've been very open about it. And I've been very open about it because when I was looking for a story like mine to latch onto to give me hope, I didn't really find it. So I was like, I want to be a voice for other women that are maybe perhaps higher performing, run businesses, maybe their partners had a vasectomy. I wanted to be the story that other women could find in IVF if they weren't openly talking about it, right? But they needed to find that story that they could find themselves in. So please know that 9 times out of 10, the women in your life that are in IVF or you probably don't even know it in IVF aren't talking about it. And I'll say that they're not talking about it because it is fucking exhausting. And it's really hard, to be honest. And you kind of get over what I've discovered is I'm definitely in my first cycle and then the consequent healing of that first cycle loss. I just felt like I didn't want to be negative all the time. I literally had there's nothing, honestly, until you get the baby, which you'll know about that at that point because your friend will be pregnant and you'll be, oh my God, there is nothing positive about IVF. You are hormonal, you are tired, you are sad, you are grieving, you're exhausted, you don't feel like yourself, you get angry, you have resentment, it's just that you get a lot of bad news. So for me, I certainly know that often the girls have been tell us more. And I'm I'm just sick of fucking, it's not that I'm trying to withhold anything from you. I'm just literally sick of being the negative friend that fucking has nothing good to share. They might have just told me something really fun and exciting. And then it's how's IVF? What are you going to say? You just told me this beautiful news. And then I'm oh, it's fucked. I've just suffered a loss or, the doctor just said I can't go this cycle because my uterine lining is too thin or it just becomes exhausting. So I think the women that are choosing to not share it, which I so honor and respect, a way that you can hold space for them is to firstly just acknowledge that they might not want to talk about it. So say it to them. People just don't. I find that people struggle with hard things like grief or death because they don't want to say the wrong thing. And yes, you can absolutely actually say the wrong thing. They always say you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. No, you can definitely say the wrong thing. But a beautiful way I believe that you can deal with IVF friends is if they don't want to talk about it is acknowledge that and say, hey, you know what, babe, I know you don't want to talk about it and I don't know why, but I so respect it. But I just want you to know it's okay that this might fucking suck for the next infinite period. And you're probably not going to, maybe you won't have good news to share, but I want the suck. Like, I'm here for the suck. Like, fuck dealing with this by yourself. Like, that's literally what we're here for. Like, friends aren't here to support in just the highs. Like, we're here to hear the shit. We're here to hold you through the mess. So don't think you're alone, even though you're going to feel alone. And don't try to understand, because if you're not in IVF, you do not understand. But it's just about saying, like, I don't understand, but I promise you that I'm here for you. And I want to hear the bad news, and I want to hear the suck, and I want to hear when you feel like giving up, and almost like naming all the shit that's possibly going to come up for them, because I can guarantee you it will, and just reassuring them that it's going to be hard, and maybe they want to be really private and you respect that. But say, if you're trying to be private because you think I don't want to hear it, the fuck ups and the mess and the hormones, like, that's just not true. And I am here for that more than actually ever, because I want to be here as your friend. So that's how I would deal with it. That's what I would say. And then I would also just check in, like, even if they say no, because I've done that to my best friends. Like, when I had the loss, and it was just like bad news after bad news after bad news. The two besties had text, and I was like, I'm honestly fine. I don't want to talk. I was that girl. I was like, I don't actually want to talk. Please just leave me alone. Like, I do just genuinely want to die on the couch for like a few days. Literally, Shani dropped off banana cake on the doorstep and didn't knock, which I so adore. Like, just left it on my doorstep, hot, fresh banana cake, and left. Then texted me once she'd left and was like, honey, there's just hot, fresh banana cake on the doorstep for you. And Lozzie's, who this is just her personality, that bitch just didn't give me a choice. Like, she literally just rocked up and let herself in and was like, I'm here, like, and sat on the couch. And funnily enough, it was exactly what I needed. And I was able to I just didn't get a choice. She actually just sat with me, and I just sobbed my fucking eyes out on the couch. And it just felt so good. And if she had been like, I'm coming over, what time do you want me over? Like, should we do 4 o'clock? I would have been like, please don't. Like, I'm so tired. I don't want to see anyone, because I didn't. But her actually just literally rocking up and letting herself in, that's definitely the relationship we have. Please don't do that. Like, if you don't have that relationship with your besties. But yeah, it was the best thing that both of them in those moments could have done for me. So the point is to say, call it out, like, name that it's going to suck for them and that you're there for the suck. Like, that you're not expecting good news. Like, they don't just have to share the wins. Please, like, know that you're there for the losses, right? And then rocking up, like, those little things, whether it is just like dropping off some slippers, because we're meant to keep our feet warm all the time, by the way. That makes me want to cry. It makes me emotional, because I just think of all the women not supported. But just doing the little things that your friend isn't going to ask for, but she really needs, like dropping the slippers off, or dropping some banana bread off, or rocking up and walking through her door if she's just like had some really bad news, because they're all the things that have helped me. And honestly, another time I was like, I said to the girls, it's just bad news again. I honestly can't be fucked. They were like, Anna, tell us. Like, they were like, tell us. Don't do that. Like, this is what we're here for. And so I did. And then even just being able to voice note them back and be like, well, it fucking sucks, and I'm angry, and like, that really helped. So it's almost, in a way, gracefully and beautifully and calmly, like, forcing yourself in their lives in some capacity. And it can be by text, voice note, random drop-offs, or rocking up unannounced. That is how you support a friend in IVF. Okay. Next question. Oh, I love this one. I love them all. Am I still planning to leave Australia? Fucking A, friends. Yes. So we've given ourselves 12 months. We said 6 months ago, 12 to 18 months. We're still giving ourselves 12 months. Honestly, the only reason we're giving ourselves 12 months is because of TAW Collective for me, and the Dream Haus studio for us both. We're just working out, those companies are obviously Australian based. They have to stay in Australia, so they will. My ultimate wealth is my personal brand anyway. So I just personally want to go offshore, but it's not as simple as being like, we've just got a house and like, we're going. It's companies. I've got companies that we need to work out what we want to do. TAW Collective will just remain, and wherever I am, the samples will get shipped there, etc. But yeah, TDH, it's like, do we sell? Do we keep it? Do we put someone in? What do we want to do with that? So we've given ourselves another 12 months, but nothing has changed. In fact, it's only gotten worse. I just believe, and life is certainly not all about tax strategy or, I spent a government essentially at all. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, Australia has become a socialist country. And for me, I'm like living next door pretty much to my besties, which is everything. I'm like, I would rather go build my legacy generational wealth offshore, which I can do for 10 years, 5 to 10 years I'm going to give myself, and then come back. I'll pay whatever exit fee I have to, which I will. I'll pay whatever entry fee I have to fucking repay. But I'll have built my true wealth, my crazy wealth offshore, and then I'll bring it home. And maybe I won't. I'm just completely uncommitted. But yes, am I leaving Australia? Absolutely. This is another awesome question. If I had $8,000 to my name, where would I start? I've got 15 minutes. Okay, I loved this question. So obviously, I'm not a financial planner, absolutely not giving financial advice whatsoever, but I've been asked the question, if I had $8,000, what would I do? I think it's like 3 or 4 things I always say. So number one, $8,000 is incredible. That would put you ahead of more than, if you had $8,000 saved, that would put you ahead of more than like 95% of Australians in liquidity, savings, cash savings. So number one, I would always put aside a buffer. So I would put $1,000 to $2,000 of that in a high yield saving interest account, right? With the idea that I don't have to touch it. And that's just for emergencies. And that's for emergencies like an unexpected bill that comes along, or, my car tire blows out or whatever. And instead of having to go, oh my God, I don't have $400 spare, it's like, okay, I've got that. So I would put it in a high yield cash savings account. Obviously, if you withdraw off that, you won't get the interest for the month, but you've got that optionality, which is so powerful to pull from it. So I would put $1,000 to $2,000 into a high yield savings account as my buffer. Always. You must always have some cash available to you. The next thing that I would do is I would absolutely invest. So what do we got? About $4,000, about $4,000 of it. And we know my position on my asset class. My assets are crypto and shares. So I would put, if I had $4,000, I would put $2,000 deploy into Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever I was hot for at that moment, wanted to build my portfolio, and I would deploy $2,000 across into shares. With shares, I would look at if I wanted to do ETFs, exchange traded funds, which are lots of companies put into one share portfolio essentially, or I'm not telling you which one to do, or I would go, do I want to do ETFs or do I want to do companies like individual companies? And then I would use ChatGPT or Claude or Grok, and I would sit and I would unpack. Okay, I've got $2,000 to deploy into shares. I want to look at the highest performing shares in the last in history, in the history of the S&P. And then I would start to unpack that. It might give me a couple of companies. It might give me some ETFs. And I would say, okay, amazing. Is this at the, is the share price at its current peak? What was the low? What is the middle range? And I would start to unpack that. And then I would have that $4,000 ready to deploy across into Bitcoin or Ethereum. And my shares, when I had researched independently all of those little things that I've just said, and then kept following the thread. So I'd put 2,000 into I would have said 1,000 into savings, but honestly, today's prices, you need at least $2,000 into a high yield interest rate savings account. I put at least 4,000 split for me into shares and crypto. And then I've got 2,000 left, right? This is me. So this does not make it right, doesn't make it wrong, doesn't make it bad, doesn't make it good. I would then choose to try to, off that $2,000, start a business. Because let me tell you, the more that this world continues, the more I am convinced that business is the number one way. It's how I earn my wealth. Like, it just is how I earn my wealth. So I know that I can flick a switch or open a cart or do a promotion at the studio or do whatever else, and I can earn. So I would deploy that final $2,000. And if it was me, I might look at network marketing if I don't have a lot of capital, because obviously it's low barrier to entry, it's low capital startup with network marketing. I would also start to do research around AI and look at all the jobs that it's taking, and perhaps start to consider that the one thing that it realistically can't is like organic content. So maybe I would look at starting to become an organic content creator. So I might invest $1,000 into like updating my brand and etc. Then I would take $1,000 of that and invest that into a mentor, right? Any mentor that I could afford at that price, and up my skills in whatever business arena I'm entering. So if that was content creation, if that was network marketing, if that was, they're really the only two that, if it was two, we're talking $8,000. Someone asked the exact same question with $100,000. And I was like, I'm answering the $8,000 question because it's so much more relatable for everyday Australians. But that's the split that I would do. I would do high yield cash in a bank for my buffer. I would invest $4,000, so the middle, into, for me, shares and crypto. And then I would take the final and invest it into me, basically, into upskilling myself with a mentor, and then starting a little side hustle on the side, whether it's content creation or photography or dog walking or car washing or floristry or cleaning, and then I would hire a mentor with like some of that cash as well. So starting a business and hiring a mentor. And obviously that split, I love investing. So my splits are a bit more aggressive. You could switch that potentially and go, okay, well, I'm going to put $4,000 into a business and a mentor, and then $2,000 into investing. Amazing. But that's the split generally that I would do. Cash for a cash buffer, business essentially, and then investing. That's what I would do with $8,000. Great question. Okay, I can answer this one. I've got like just under 15 minutes. All right, there's 2 questions left. I loved this one. So scaling, increasing a small business. When is the right time to bring on employees? I am binging. I've got a beautiful new BFF, Millie from Carme, who has just launched her podcast here. I would firstly highly encourage you all go and just binge her podcast in real time with Millie. If you are a female, if you are just a female founder in general, she has all the best of the best female founders on her podcast, and she just talks about this, like the shit, like hiring, scaling, issues, stresses. It's unbelievable. And something that I wanted to answer this because I wanted to use myself as a really powerful example. When is the right time to bring on employees? Yesterday is realistically my answer. By the time you're hiring someone generally, and this is my experience, you're already like 6 months late, right? Like it would have been so beneficial, but we're so scared to deploy that capital because, oh my God, what if XYZ, we don't get sales or the profitability is lower, 100%. But at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to scale, and we're just not. And we're not going to be able to keep getting increasing profits if we don't have help. So for me, I want to use this example really strongly because I've got Lane. I hired Lane about a year ago, which has been life-changing. And I needed her, if I had brought her on, which I had complete capabilities to do so, I had the funds, etc., I would have scaled my businesses 100 times more by now, right? So now I'm using the example. So I'm about to bring in a content person, right? That's what I'm saying. Go fucking upskill. At the end of the day, AI can also create content, but I just fundamentally believe because AI can create content, I think the true pioneers in business will be this, like founder face-to-face, packing orders, just real, not AI, basically. So I'm about to hire a content girly is my point. Cannot wait. I should have hired this person 4 years ago, to be honest. I should have hired them. Hang on, Yash. Bless me. Oh, how random. I never sneeze. Okay, cut that. But I've just said I should have hired them. I should have hired them I mean, my God, 6 months ago, but definitely 12 months ago. So basically, when scaling a business, a small business, when should you make a hire? There is no right or wrong. There is no basically there's no box you can tick. No one can actually answer that for you, only you. And if you're at a point where you know you should be hiring someone, then you're probably 6 months too late, right? In the sense of like, you're not too late, but as in bite the bullet, take the risk, bring the person on, and then you will see if it's the right fit, right? The other thing I'll say is I don't do employees. Obviously, I've got a very different business structure. I can do it this way. But if you are listening to this and you're a small business, and I know every small business does this now, but I bring on contractors. So anyone that I bring in is a contractor, right? Even when I bring in anyone to do, so this next content girl, you have to have an ABN. You have to invoice me. I'm not bringing you on to the payroll. The laws in Australia now are so ridiculous. Like, it's not worth it. I feel for companies so deeply that have to have employees, basically. And I'm grateful for them because like that's how society works, but that's just not small business. So the point around that is to say, like, if you bring a contractor in and have an honest conversation with them and say, look, you know, we're scared to do this. It's a big jump. You're our first staff, or you're the new person in this particular role. We really hope it works. We want to put you on like a 3-month or a 6-month or a 1 month or whatever trial. If you love it, importantly, and we love it, amazing, we'll look to, you know, keep you on. But as a contractor, you know, you can just say, hey, look, it's not working out. It's time to go. And obviously fairly give them notice. But the point is, I'm saying it's less risky. So when should you bring on an employee? Yesterday. If you're asking that question, I've learned it should be yesterday. And the second best time is today. So if you feel like you're drowning in your tasks and actually offloading, what's it called? Outsourcing, like offloading content and this, that, and the other would enormously help and allow you to work more on the business, not in the business, then you should be making that higher, 100%. Okay. And then the last question, which will take us to the hour, is, I thought I'd end on something spicy. I'm so surprised I actually didn't get more questions like this. I'm just like ticking it off. Prioritizing sex when your libido has dropped. So how to prioritize sex when your libido has dropped. I want to make sure yeah. Welcome to the sex podcast. No. So 2 things, my love. Number 1, 3 things actually. Number 1, first and foremost, I just am holding you in this. I think this is like, if you didn't ask that question, but you're still like, that's me. Like, I see you, I hear you, and I am holding you in this. The second thing is, you're certainly not alone. This is definitely something that a lot of women, if not all women, go through. The third thing I will say though, and it's saying that the rest is stuff that I'm really passionate about in terms of this conversation. So the first thing that I'll say is like, self-pleasure and self-prioritization is your number 1. So how to prioritize sex when you have a really low libido, I get it, but are you actually pleasuring and prioritizing yourself? And when I say prioritizing yourself, I mean in all ways. So often and this is going to be another thing I say, check your hormones, get a fantastic naturopath and actually check your hormones, because it could actually just be not a complex case, but of the fact that hormonally you are just not balanced, and that's not your fault. And your hormones just need some natural supplementation to get you back to estrogen, you know, pumping that beautiful, juicy moistness down there, right? Estrogen plays an enormous part. Progesterone plays an enormous part. And if you're going through perimenopause, menopause is only one day, but perimenopause, and then after menopause, then get a fantastic naturopath and go on that journey with her, one or him, 100%. So that's kind of like separate to that. If it's not a hormone thing and you just feel really disconnected and out of touch or touched out, tapped out, tuned out, whatever it is, the number 1 thing I say to all women is, are you prioritizing pleasure in your own life like your life depends on it? And pleasure doesn't have to just be sexual, but if you are trying to reignite libido and intimacy and sex and connection with your partner, male or female, then you absolutely need to be prioritizing pleasure, self, in your life. And I'm really speaking to women because I think with men it's an epidemic. I ban porn. I don't like men over masturbating is an absolute issue in sex life as well. So I'm literally talking to women right now. So to my queens, if you are trying to up your libido essentially in the bedroom or elsewhere, focus on self first, right? Because I know when we don't use it, we absolutely lose it. And again, I want to say hormonal deficiencies are a completely different conversation. Go and check that. If that all checks out, and actually you're not perimenopause, you're not after menopause, you're not on the 1 day of menopause, you hormonally are pretty thrivey, it's a different conversation, and that's the conversation I'm having now. So prioritizing pleasure for self is so important. And I always say, if you aren't making yourself come, then why are we expecting him to make or her to make you come, right? If you don't know what turns you on, then of course, when he comes over and he starts, doing his usual or her rub or slap on the ass or literally just pokes his boner into you, then of course you're not going to switch right on because that's not how you get turned on. Maybe it's foot rub, like intimacy, no phones, absolute connection, a foot rub, knowing that it can turn into a full body massage and a lot of touch and then some foreplay and then a beautiful sex event for sure. And if you're like, oh my God, I don't have the time, let me tell you, if you don't have the time for pleasure, then what the fuck are you doing with your life, right? It's the point of it all. And I don't mean sex, I mean pleasure, joy, touch, sensual. The gift of the feminine is sensuality, right? It's our femininity, it's our superpower. So number one, a really beautiful way, honestly, if you want a task, the number one thing I would say to you, if you were really struggling with libido in your relationship, is privately, you do not have to talk about this, you don't have to tell your partner, is create a 30-day non-negotiable self pleasure practice where every single day, and find the time, queen. Do not use that as your excuse. Use that as your reason. Because I can tell you why you have low libido. If you tell me I don't have the time, that's fucking why you have a low libido. Because you're not making time for things that matter to you, like pleasure and orgasms, right? So find the time, prioritize yourself, and have a 30-day practice, because we can make or break a habit after 30 days, where for 30 days, every single day, outside of your partner, you are going to make yourself come again. You are going to make yourself feel something. You are going to use toys or your finger or the bath or feathers or touch or music or anything. It's got to be self though, right? You are committing to this for yourself, by yourself. And for 30 days straight, you are going to touch, play, and pleasure on your own body and refine what turns you on, refine what makes you hot, refine what you love, like, oh, I didn't know I like to be touched there, or oh, I am actually more hard and fast, or oh, I'm actually way more slow and soft. Like that really turns me on. I was about to say what I like, but I feel like that's really that would be inappropriate on a podcast because then everybody will know. But I know exactly what I like. I know exactly how I come in multiple different ways. Toys, fingers, cock with Ryan, right? I know all of it. So that's how you re-raise your libido. And if this conversation is making you uncomfortable, good. This is a conversation that you need to have with yourself. And this is a conversation that you need to lean in on, because this is your activation then. How to raise libido in your relationship is you raise the libido in yourself first, right? You've got to find out and you've got to refigure out what turns you on, what makes you hot, and then you get to open and surrender and soften to the masculine or the feminine, but the masculine if you're girl still. And you can voice your desires and your pleasures. Actually, honey, I've just learned this ain't it. Like coming over and slapping my ass and expecting to stick it in, that's just not, that doesn't turn me on. But hey, if you took a couple more minutes and you actually like massage my back or tickle my back or touch me down there, like that's going to really turn me on. But you can't have those conversations if you don't know those answers for yourself. So I will leave it there, my loves. I feel like we're on the hour or at the hour, but what I love about this is that this is the epitome of my podcast. I have named it Anything Goes because these are the conversations that I always want to have. I never wanted to box myself and say, I could only talk to female founders, or I could only talk about money, or I could only talk about politics, or I could only talk about sex. It's like, no, I will forever be the woman that can sit here and weave and discuss and talk about it all because, as the name suggests, anything goes. And I could not be more proud of that fact. But I will leave it there. I have loved this conversation with you. If you have gotten anything out of it, as always, and of course, it would mean the world to me if you went and left a review over on Apple or Spotify, or come and comment. You guys, I live for your comments on Spotify and YouTube. I reply to them all. Come and hang out over there. I always love to see what you got from the episode or what you learned from the episode or what you want more of. So please come and tell me what you want. Tell me what you loved about it. And I will see you next week. It is a very, 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 very special episode next week. It's going to be Ryan and I again. We'll have had our transfer and we'll want to talk about it and just share all the updates of the week leading up to that. I cannot wait. So until next time, my loves, stay wild.